We're going to talk about, I nearly forgot because I was supposed to do this video like 20-30 minutes ago. Basically, ownership and people being custodians now and in the future. So I'm feeling and seeing a trend here. Maybe I'm crazy for saying this and thinking this, but I've had offers to start businesses with people. People have implied that I could help them with their business, been offered partnerships, and I'm seeing people asking for partnerships. I won't get into with what, but I'll just say that the models weren't great, which is why I didn't bother, and a regular job would be better than what I would have been offered, because I don't think there's a lot of growth in quite a lot of non-physical businesses now. I think you're going to be working just as hard as you would be for a wage, so it doesn't really make sense for some of them. But I'm seeing where I am. I'll talk to people about the things they own and the things they're running. There's this kind of desperation to kind of bring other people into that as, I don't know what, as some kind of management, as some kind of taking over as a park custodian. I can see it when it's going to sound crazy delusional, but it's true. When I go out and speak to people, I can see something in their eyes like, oh, maybe this guy can help, maybe this guy can be a part, maybe he can take this burden, because it's a burden to them, off me partially, or take some of it. What would I have to give him for him to take it? And it's like, I know why it's me that some people are looking at, and it's not really anything that special. I'm not a skilled or highly competent person. I'm competent in some things, but I'm not like a super competent human being. All I have is some level of motivation, some discipline, and a foot in the real world, which should be pretty much the standard operating system for any male alive, pretty much most people. But it isn't. Most people are completely unmotivated, have no competencies at all, no discipline, and are just not in the real world. Like, they live in fantasy worlds on computers, on a phone like this one that I'm speaking into, and so they're not suitable to take control of anything, but they don't have a desire to. If I got the right opportunity, I'm sure I'll be a custodian of something, but I haven't had good opportunities. But what I'm seeing is people are escaping more and more into the digital world, into things that aren't real, and avoiding any kind of real responsibility. I don't know why this is. And I've also looked at some statistics, and I think 85% of small businesses that shut down find it really aren't able to resell the business or find someone to take it over. Small and mid-sized businesses, I think in the UK anyway. So clearly there's data that supports that people don't want to be in charge of stuff anymore. And right now, it's a shame. What's the biggest shame is that there aren't, big business grants. Like, you can get small £5,000, £10,000 loans in the UK, for example. You can get small business grants. But if you get a business, a mid-sized business, that's asking someone to buy them out for £100,000, the people who would be interested, like people like me in the mid-30s, or like older 20s, at the back end of the 20s, 2026, we don't have that capital. It's not worth it to us. It's not worth that risk, that leverage risk. We can't get that capital. We can't get that leverage through a loan or anything. Going through an agreement and everything, we're not going to be able to do it. What are we even taking on? Is it even worth it for that much? So I think businesses that are closing down and shutting down the model, the good ones, the ones that actually have some kind of future, are asking for too much. I think that there's a bit of a delusion there in how much they're worth. Not because these companies, like factories or whatever business model it is, aren't worth the asking price in terms of, you know, the raw capability there and the kind of future growth there, but because there's not enough people who can fund it and cover that capital, first off. Second off is there's just not that many people who want it, who want to be in charge of stuff. People want to relax now. If you look at Gen Z, most Gen Z I know, I haven't looked at statistics for this, but I bet I'm right. I just bet. I feel it in my heart. Most Gen Z, they don't want to work any kind of physical job. So if you offered for them to take over a factory, they might say yes, they might see it as a good idea, but they could never run it. They'd never be able to do it. It's not due to competence, it's due to motivation. It's seen as like low-level peasant work. Even being the owner of it is just not a glamorous thing. And, you know, it wouldn't be their idea of making it in the world or getting rich or doing whatever. And so I think a lot of them would reject it, even if it fell a silver platter for them. And I'd say that half or more than half of Gen Z want to be influencers, want to be famous, want to be digital creators and stuff, but it's massively oversaturated. And being a custodian is going to become more and more important in the future, I think. So, moving on with that, millennials, you know, similar minded. Millennials, I'd say probably 30%, 25% of us want to be influencers. Hey, I wanted to be famous once upon a time. And then I pussied out several times because I realised the ramifications and then went back into it. And now I've missed my chance, and to be honest, I don't really care now. Probably get 3 views on this over the next 20 years, and that's fine with me. I can see if I was right. Really, I'm using this to just check my predictions in the future. I've made loads of predictions that have come true, and I want to be able to look in 10 years and go, yes, I was right, I wasn't insane, that was a good call. But anyway, I think it's a big shame that this mismatch is going on where people are trying to get rid of their businesses and they're sick of managing it, and they're trying to sell to unmotivated Gen Z and millennials who don't have the money for it, they're not offering to do like a partial buyout and slowly, you know, phase them in. That's what should be going on, and trying to like show them, look, it's not glamorous. You've got a laundromat, nobody gives a shit. You'll never have any social status from it, but you make a lot of money. It's almost guaranteed money. It's one of the most stable businesses you can ever have, and you're not going to run out of demand even with AI for like 20, 30 years. So here you go. Here's the keys. You can pay over 10 years. I think that's what needs to be done, but it's not happening. I see as well, like, I've stayed in a lot of properties over my lifetime because I travel a lot, and I've been to some of these hotels and big places, and I'm seeing the management and the owners, and they're talking about things I'm talking about, and then I cut off the conversation because I can feel like it's going to be, you seem like a guy who could handle the responsibility. Here's a stupid offer for you. I don't want it. I don't want to be anywhere near it. Not because I don't want to own a business or I'm not prepared to take the responsibility. It's simply not worth it. Most businesses aren't even worth being given for free, because here's a big thing. Let's say someone were to give me a hotel chain. Hypothetically, I've got a big asset there. They're gonna make it so I'm not allowed to liquidate it for 10, 20 years because they want me to run it. If I'm going to take the thing, they're going to want me to take the responsibility. But it's just going to bleed money left, right, and centre. Tourism's going to die over time. It's not worth it. It's not worth my time. It's not worth the offer, right? And this is going to be the case for a lot of businesses. And I see that as people run more and more into the digital world and try and escape responsibility, there's not going to be anyone looking after these businesses or these buildings, big buildings as well, where there were factories. They're just going to go into disrepair. They're going to go by the wayside. Now, a lot of people say, oh, it'll be managed by AI and blah, blah, blah. I would argue not. Not because I believe that AI won't have the capability to do such, but mainly due to legislation and the fact that a human, needs to be legally responsible for these businesses and entities. And it's a shame because I feel like in 5 to 6 years' time, when industrial construction companies, big size global construction companies, and small business owners and medium business owners realize that they've been massively overvaluing the businesses, by then the level of apathy and the level of desire to be part of the social media world and the digital world and not the physical real world will have grown so dramatically that you won't be able to get rid of businesses for any price. Like, you own a fishery, you try and sell it for 20,000, it's generating 40,000 a year. Nah, I don't want that responsibility. I'd rather be in my virtual world. I get UBI, I get this. People aren't going to want them, so there's going to be a big problem with the ownership of things. I think as well, so another thing with construction industry being behind, it's about 5 to 10 years behind. What I mean when I say this, and I've said this before, is Vietnam, where I just was, great example. In fact, Asia in general is a pretty good example. Because a lot of Asian economies are expanding now, and they're building these new projects so that people can move to the city and whatever, and there's loads of residential buildings being put up. But they've got, outside of India, where I am now, they've all got population decline. They don't have growing populations. 5 to 10 years, when AI automates loads of work, universities are pointless, who the fuck's going to live in these buildings? Who's going to move to a city? So you're going to end up with loads of empty buildings. Be great for people like myself in 5 to 10 years who can just say, here, hello government, I'm going to turn this building into this. I hope you're going to let me, because if you don't, this building's going to go by the wayside. By the way, I want a loan. So it's going to be great for people like me, but it's just going to be a very big waste of resources. You're going to see you get a lot of new services through AI, but a lot of old services just won't be functional. A lot of old factories will close down, manufacturing will close down. And so there's going to be a lot of bottlenecks in production despite the AI productivity, in my opinion. Now, on the other hand, this is a good time to become a custodian if you get a good deal on something. Because basically nobody wants to do anything in the physical real world. People don't want to be the responsible, accountable person. So if you want to buy an old business or start like a physical business, like a cleaning business, that's not glamorous and sexy, now's probably a great time to do it. Security, probably not security. Gyms are crap. I wouldn't start a gym. I would start an influencer gym. If I was going to start a gym, I'd start an influencer gym. And I'd get influencers to pay to rent it out for a time or whatever. And you'd make way more money having an influencer gym. But a regular, commercial gym, there's loads of them now. Everyone wants to work out because looks are all that matter now. Money doesn't matter. You can buy basically anything, even as a brokey. So gyms are I see them as a dying thing. And at some point with activin A and myostatin inhibitors and other drugs, you don't really need a gym, even for the looks. So the gyms aren't a good investment. You've got to pay so much money to buy the equipment. The upfront is massive. Gyms aren't really good business. But cleaning business right now will be excellent. Window cleaning. How many people do window cleaning? Nobody does it anymore. You could probably make a pretty penny doing window cleaning. And the thing is, people aren't even paying attention to the bloody windows. I don't think you'd have to clean them half the time you said you would. As long as you turned up sometimes, I think people would still pay for the service, even if it's shite. There's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of physical stuff that I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in, because everyone's looking at digital things. Moving companies, stuff like that as well, that's a great business. No one wants to be picking shit up and putting it in the back of a van. Yeah? So moving business is probably a good business right now. You can get paid per the contract or per the labour hours, whatever. I think that's a really good business as well right now. But basically what I'm seeing is, and it's kind of worrying to me, maybe AI will fix it, maybe it won't. But if it doesn't, we're going to end up with a lot of abandoned properties and a lot of abandoned businesses, and nobody stepping in to take responsibility for any of it. I don't know what happens at that point, because what do you do with a factory that's got no owner? Some people are going to say, well, we can own it communistically. Sure, but the problem is not in the problem's not in who owns it as such. The problem's in nobody wanting to do that work and nobody wanting to claim any responsibility, even shared responsibility for it. So you could say, yeah, these 20 people now own this factory. They're never going to turn up and do anything anyway. So that the issue seems to be, and I'm seeing it more and more, is people are just running out of motivation for real physical stuff, for running their own businesses, management of any kind, and everyone seems to be looking to offload responsibility and just kind of chill, just kind of coast by, try and live the high life, do some social media shit, take some nice photos, instead of actually building real physical value and assets for themselves. I feel like the next 4 to 5 years is going to be a mad spending spree from the people who've got the money. Some of them, like the smarter ones, will just keep acquiring assets while they're cheap, and companies that have old managers that don't want to run the company anymore. And I think that's okay, but I think a lot of people are just gonna, like, as we get further and further into this digital future, a lot of people are just gonna go further and further into the vices and into escapism. And really, like, I actually don't know, this is something I actually don't know the end result of. When there's no custodians, does the AI take charge? I really don't know what the answer is there. But it's a shame right now to see so many unsold companies, because the previous owners have got too much pride, and rightly so. I understand they've tried to build something for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and they don't want to undervalue themselves. But the reality is nobody can be bothered to do any of this stuff, to take responsibility for anything other than themselves these days. It's going to be a weird one. Anyway, I just thought I'd get into that.